All right, welcome back to another episode of Eviction Notice. I'm Doomer Nat, and I'm here with Lewis. Today is Sunday, March 22nd. It's Sunday. This is episode 38. And as you notice, Lewis is mogging the shit out of me. He's background mogging. He has a much better hat than I do. Um, the camera quality, I think, is a little bit the same, although it's blurred in the back.
Yeah.
So, Lewis, why are you mogging the shit out of me right now?
I'm in a podcast studio. I'm traveling right now, and a friend of the show generously offered me his studio to record in. So thanks to him. He knows who he is. Uh, he has a he has a he has a podcast that is apolitical, so I don't want to get him in trouble. But
Right.
thank you, sir.
Thank you
Yeah.
for this. And his hat, Lewis's hat, also significantly
Yeah.
better than mine. So run the damn ball.
Yeah.
We're both in football country, so we
Yeah.
like a good thing. But anyways, we're filming this a little late. If you're watching this, we're filming at 8 o'clock. This is much later than we usually film, and that's because we had to get an episode out because yesterday was a very, very significant day in the conflict. What me and Lewis and our friends have been saying, we're very much vindicated. But before we go much more into that, I wanted to start the podcast out with a list of countries that I think are the biggest winners and the biggest losers. And I think that China is the biggest winner, with Russia in a second place, and then Iran. And the biggest losers are the Gulf states, Israel, and the American Empire. Now, first, when you look at China, because they're a very underrated player in this, when the conflict first started, you had like China hawks and MAGA people saying that China, their economy was going to collapse. The opposite is the case. Wait, hold on. Lewis, you just disappeared. All right, sorry about that technical difficulties. Anyways, China, a very underrated player in this because, like I said, like a lot of people were saying that like China's economy is going to collapse. The people who have no idea what they're talking about. China's going to be one of the biggest winners in this, specifically because of a concept known as comparative advantage. China's biggest competitors in the region are Japan and South Korea. They consume much more oil as a percentage of their energy consumption than China does. South Korea, it's around 40 to 42%. Japan, it's around 35%. And China is around 18 to 20%. And a bigger deal out of this is because Japan and South Korea, almost all of their oil is imported and it comes through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is still delivering oil to China. And also China has much larger reserves than Japan and South Korea, much more stable domestic supply chains. So they're in a much better shape than South Korea and Japan are. And that's important because they're the biggest competitors in the region when it comes to manufacturing goods. And since Japan and South Korea are going to be much more volatile than the looming and really the already starting energy crisis, their macroeconomies are going to be screwed. China's is going to be much more stable, and they are going to gain a significantly larger share than they already have of domestically manufactured goods and exports, just a much larger share. Another big W for China is America has pulled interceptors out of South Korea to give to Israel. And this leaves South Korea less secure, less just generally weaker, and a big strategic W for China because they've been ringing the alarm bells about that since America put the interceptors in South Korea in 2017. The domestic population of South Korea is actually pretty pissed off about it. And you're also seeing protests in Japan start because everyone knows their economies are going to be much more screwed than China's are. Their economies are just much more volatile than China. So China's going to is a significant winner in this, taking a geopolitical W, economic W. And everyone knows why Russia is a huge W in this. Oil prices go up. Russia, huge oil export, oil revenue go up. So with that being said, Lewis, could you tell us about the military victories that Iran has taken? You're muted right now, by the way. You should fix that before you.
Thank you, sir. Because I know you were going. I like to let you go, and I like
Yeah.
So I've noticed around say Tuesday, Monday of this previous week, I noticed that so the conflict had settled into a rhythm very quickly but Iran was still playing very conservative within that rhythm, kind of drones all day, rockets all night, take the hits as you can, right? They seemed to around Tuesday not have just settled into that pattern, but to start trying to make like take little advantage jumps. They really let the Iraqis go wild. They let the Iraqis fucking just start fucking up the American bases in Iraq like hard. Even like with FPV drones. There's rumors of like about commando raids into hotels in Baghdad city that were not in the green zone to kidnap Americans there. Like they were really let it go. They were flying F-14 Tomcat missions over. Started shoot. They started trying to pop at some American jets like in a very serious way. They seemed like they were trying. So they had settled into a rhythm, but it was conservative, and they had begun to take some risks. Right, they've been to try to like take some more bites of the apple. That was notable. But in the last 36 hours, this is where I can pretty confidently say, with these last two strikes on Israel, to the point where Israel had to drop their censorship, and now they've actually stopped censoring totally, and they're just doing the poor us, poor me, look at us, we're the victims here. Iran is winning this conflict. Like that was the first day of like, wow, like Iran had settled into a rhythm. They knew it was on the projections of how many they would take. They would eat this many strikes. They would do this. Iran on the last 2 days now has given harder than it's received. Right? They have absolutely given harder than they received. Right after. So for the first day, where wow, like more, I think you could make a strong case. More missiles hit, like more Iranian missiles hit targets than targets were hit in Iran. I don't think that's sustainable, but like it's more them showing what they can do. So Dimona, which is the nuclear power plant city, if you will, in Israel, hit hard, very hard. Arad, which is a smaller city. Now these are also it would seem like the air defense is really good over Tel Aviv. The air defense is really good. Everywhere else maybe it's lighter. Tel Aviv also got hit like bad. People are not talking about it because Tel Aviv is also where they had the best censorship because it was a city. It's easier for like the police and. There's no reason why it's easier to like censor in these areas. Also, there's just less of these like retarded Orthodox around, and it's also less Palestinians around. Palestinians also break the censorship, right? So they got, and the last 30 they've been getting jacked up, and like also not just firing at night. So missiles were going all day. Missiles. So it was drones all day, missiles all day, drones all night, missiles all night. Heavier, longer range. Now, paradoxically, we also got our first like actual Israeli THAAD or Arrow in like high altitude interception. People forget. They say, "Oh, these systems are so effective." When these systems engage, these high altitude air defense systems engage a high altitude, they get so high in the atmosphere that like the explosions look different. It's like a vaporization. But it's also very visually impressive and very easy to film because like the fucking and it's good propaganda. So when they happen, they're being reported. I really honestly don't think I think there were probably maybe 3 or 4 of these actual THAAD interceptions. I think the THAAD is a dead letter. It's not that it's a bad system. It's a very good system. It is just the countermeasure is too easy because it can only intercept it's doing a probability of a ballistic trajectory, right? The missiles, hypersonics are not ballistic. They have a little bit of wobble, right? And that little bit of wobble, the tiniest bit, throws off the mathematics because you're shooting so far in front that, just not going to work. The THAAD is excellent. It's a triumph of engineering mathematics, but it's a wonder weapon. It's very situational, and it's been beaten. Now it'll be used for things, but like the THAAD is also very. People forget the THAAD cannot be used to intercept an aircraft. Like Patriot can kill missiles that are going slower, and it can kill planes. It's designed for that, right? THAAD can't kill planes. Like it theoretically can if the plane is locked on a trajectory, right? But like I think THAAD might be a dead letter. It's just too easy to beat.
Right.
And that's
being said, go ahead.
Good. Well, Iran being the big winner is a lot of these products have shown to be losers. A lot of these American products, they can't intercept. You're already seeing like the people who don't have a block in their brain where they can't conceive of an American defeat are saying, well, the problem is we don't have enough of these Sky Raiders or Super Tucanus or whatever, these fucking crop duster conversions that like they're converted crop dusters to be like military aircraft because those could intercept drones better over the Strait of Hormuz. But that's retarded because while those are cheaper, they're also $30 million a pop. They're very expensive, but like those are cheaper than F-15s. They're not better at the job. They're cheaper. So people are making this idea of we're using the wrong weapon, right? The military industrial complex is infallible, but we're using the wrong product. It's not using the wrong product. It's that they're fucked. Like they can't do it. Like it's just 100 like high end jet planes can't do something, right? Why could 100 like lower end crop duster conversions do this? It doesn't make any, on its face, it doesn't make sense. No one's like, oh, my interception aircraft is too fast and its weapons are too long ranged, because fast planes can fly slow and long range weapons can be shot at short ranges, right? You know, no, it's not like a sniper rifle or some shit where you can't, like, it's just too heavy to, no, it's the real world. Like planes can shoot short range targets and they just can't, it seems like. So I think the Judeo-American empire is on the back foot, and I think the Trump lashing out and saying, "Oh, we're going to destroy every power plant," like we're going to destroy the concept of electricity in Iran it's absurd. It's lashing out. It's also short-sighted and stupid. It's something that Trump thought of on the toilet, because they can do that to Israel too. Like the reason power plants aren't being touched in this war is because, so for instance, power plants and desalination plants, right? Desalination plants, Iran needs them for like 5 maybe percent max of their water. Their biggest power plant provides about 3 to 4% of their national power. Israel is like majority dependent on desalination plants for water, and its biggest power plant supplies 20% of its power. If they're going to get in a war of popping each other's desalination, popping each other's power, Iran has much more strategic depth in this case than Israel does.
Yes.
It's and remember, Israel is the capital of the American Empire. Tel Aviv is the capital. Like, yes, like okay, they couldn't affect the power in the U.S., right? But they can affect the power in fucking Tel Aviv. That's the capital. It doesn't matter. The U.S. doesn't matter in this kind. Like the pain is in Tel Aviv, and that's what they can do.
And I also you explain, you know, when you're explaining how Iran won or is winning, you're also explaining how Israel is losing. Their interceptors are shit. They're getting hit really bad.
They get no bitches.
You know, yeah. I mean, I think everyone knows why the Gulf states are screwed. I mean, there's going to be hardly anything left to Dubai when this is over with. They're screwed. And this creates huge problems for the American empire, because these are the countries and ways that America projects its power. You know, these, besides obvious, well, Israel is, like you said, the capital.
Dubai is a monument to the American empire.
Yes.
Dubai is a monument to the American empire.
They're vassal states.
Yeah.
The vassal states are not looking good at all. The Gulf states are screwed. Like we already said, Japan and South Korea are going to be some really big losers of this. Those are the vassal states of East Asia, and they are less secure and will be economically really hurt. Thus, it's also an L for the American empire. If the biggest winners of this conflict are the biggest enemies of the American empire, Russia and China, then the biggest loser must be the American empire. Also, something to keep in mind is American troops left Iraq.
Yes, that was So I mentioned Tuesday they let them boys off the leash, and they pieced they were the Americans hard for 5 days, so hard the Americans left. Now you can say, well, the Americans didn't confirm any like deaths in this conflict. Okay, fine. The Americans left. The Americans left the field. They've left Iraq.
The only place they're still in
is Kurdistan and Erbil.
Yeah. They're in
EAB Air Base. Yeah.
That's it. So they're out. That's a huge L. Another huge L, and I did not mention this when I was talking about Russia. Another huge L for the American empire, and obviously the vassal state of Eastern Europe is Ukraine. They have no interceptors to give Ukraine anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's completely out of the window.
No Pac 2, no Pac 3.
See, like, that's gone.
Yeah.
So that's another L. So NATO's taking L's. And remember what Spain did, telling America and Trump to fuck off.
Yeah.
So the American empire is taking some heavy blows by also just looking like fools, but also their vassal states are getting hit very hard.
Yeah.
So that's our analysis of who the winners and the losers
also,
are. Important
to remember with the Iraq thing is that, so EAB is the closest base to the Iranian border. It is also a very large base. It was the largest Iranian base in Iraq. The problem is that there's no longer a land supply line from Camp Buehring, which is the other big base in the Middle East. That's like, you would be in theory for staging this kind of invasion. You'd probably do it in either Buehring or in Kuwait and or in AAAB. But in theory, you want to have both those like able to connect to each other. Now they can't connect. They're not connected over land. So things are going to fly into Erbil probably, unless they're going to come down in through Turkey and then Syria and then Erbil, which is like kind of pretty sketch there, bro. Like the Turks could just say no. The Syrians could just say no. Like they probably won't, but the Turks might say no. The Turks might like not let an American invasion force truck down. So it kind of cuts off the whole Erbil thing. Now, like also Erbil's just in range of missiles. It's going to get hit all day, all night. Same thing as like just like the Iraq bases were. It's a little bit further from. So in Kurdistan, the PMF, which is the Iranian aligned militias, don't have freedom of movement in the way they do in the south. They can just go wherever they want. They were launching those drones at the American embassy from like a mile away, maybe less, because they could just go wherever they want in the country. In Kurdistan, they are considered terrorists. They're not allowed to just roll around in their trucks, so they'll have to either just launch them from outside of Kurdistan, which is easy, or do a little kind of sneaky stuff. Either way.
One thing, speaking of terrorists, Giuliani was made to look like a bitch this past week. It's completely. So once again, vindicated on Syria. We were all saying Assad's going to fall. They're going to replace him with an Israeli, American, and also kind of Turkish puppet. Mm-hmm. And what happens? Israel literally bombs Syria and no response. Zero response. Mm-hmm. Which a lot of people were confused why they would bomb Syria. From what I understand, and I think, Lewis, you agree with this, is that there are like some true believer ISIS guys that also hate the state of Israel that get rowdy once in a while.
Yes, I think there's some of that. Also, there may have been fears that the SAA, the new SAA, was selling stuff to Hezbollah, because Hezbollah is, like, people forget, in the interim between the two wars with with Israel and Lebanon, on the north front, a lot of Iranian, not a lot, but a chunk of Iranians got caught smuggling stuff to Hezbollah from Iran and then the airport, because the guy running the airport was some kind of anti-Hezbollah guy. And what they were caught with wasn't weapons. They weren't caught with a bunch of ATGMs and guns. They were caught with American dollars and gold bars. So they presume what people making the assumption is that Syria is a country of warlords that is trying to wind down its civil war. All these warlords are going to want to sell their fucking weapons and buy. They want to govern now. They have to buy fucking cars and fucking build construction projects and schools and hospitals. All the good stuff. Well, Hezbollah needs fucking gear. So inherently, maybe Giuliani doesn't like it, but these individual warlords and their individual little fiefdoms, these tribal chiefs, Hezbollah rocks up with a couple bands and says, "Hey, I'll buy your ATGMs. I'll buy that Scud missile. I'll buy that, that." And I think the Israelis, either their fears, true believers in Syria, which are not too many, but I think there's enough that it's a threat. But also, if there's any heavy duty hardware in the Syrian army, they're probably very worried that Hezbollah's buying it. And also, motivated sellers, right? Because if it could be a Shia officer, they are Shia in Syria. They could just not like Iraq, right? I mean, Hezbollah, even if you're a fucking Giuliani guy, right? Hezbollah's like, if you sell me this missile, I will launch it at Israel. I mean, listen, you can hate Shia all you want. It's a hell of a sales pitch,
Yeah. Well, also another thing I wanted to talk about with Israel and getting hit is most Western sources reporting on it had to admit an open secret, which is that Israel does have nuclear weapons and
it's very funny because they hit Dimona.
Yeah, and so it's like when you hit that, and Israel hates when their secrets get exposed, and they hate not being recognized, right? As a legitimate state, whatever. They hate when people don't recognize them. They need recognition. And so when you hit Dimona and the Western sources reporting on it were like, yo, yeah, that's their nuclear site. It's well, hold on now. You told us they did not have that. Yeah. So that got exposed, and now people are, so that's another huge L, which is that you did have this and everyone knew you had it, and we just had to keep it hush hush. It's an open secret. So that open secret gets exposed. So brilliant. Also another brilliant play by Iran. I remember it was the IAEA
Yes.
They were like, we have no reports that like nuclear sites have been hit, but we're monitoring the situation, or we're waiting on reports, but we haven't gotten reports yet. And everyone was like, you haven't even been allowed to go there. What are you talking about? So you knew this and just like didn't do anything about it? Like, what are you saying? Like, what are you doing? And also, it exposed a huge hypocrisy, which is one of the biggest reasons that, quote unquote, the supposed reason the 12-Day War happened was to destroy Iran's nuclear capabilities, which number one, it failed in doing that, but Iran doesn't even want to do. Israel has them. Mm-hmm. And Iran, justifiably, is just trying to destroy Israel's nuclear capabilities, because I'm not saying there's going to be, they would, do a nuclear bomb. I don't think they'd drop one. But the chances are there. At least they're higher than they ever really have been in a long time. So brilliant strategic strike by Iran. And also, by the way, the Israelis have lost their mind. Like, you have like settlers like calling Ben Kavir a Nazi. Like, did you see that?
Yeah.
And you have settlers attacking Palestinians, like they're doing literal pogroms, which, I mean, they kind of always do that, but it was particularly bad last night. They have lost their mind. So, that's just something to keep in mind here, is that there's extreme civil unrest in Israel. One of Israel's top secrets that everyone, it was like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge situation going on, gets exposed. They're not doing to, and obviously their interceptors are shit. So like all their population is like scared. They're like, we can actually get hit. You told us it wasn't like that. Very similar to the propaganda L that Israel took with the Hezbollah situation. Israel was telling everyone, and America was telling everyone as well, that Hezbollah had been basically completely destroyed. And it comes to find out, actually, that's not the case. And Israel is getting their shit fucked up by Hezbollah. And all the Israelis like, so you lied to us. Yeah. We are much more in danger than you've told us. And that's causing huge problems in Israel.
Absolutely. And they also had to do they moved to general mobilization. They said they're going to mobilize the whole idea for this conflict with Hezbollah. And I think, and while they were doing that, Haaretz is not accurate. Like, Haaretz is not mainstream Israeli sentiment. Haaretz is a newspaper for the Goyim to read, to trick them into thinking
it's like the liberal Zionist paper.
No, it's not even that. It's like it's for Goyim to read, to think there's human Israelis. Like it's literally like.
But even they slip up sometimes.
Yeah, and they fuck it up. But like, it was making the case. It's the most that like they're, because it's also where if you're like a dissident in Israel, so this is not a popular sentiment, right? But if you're like a dissident in Israel and you have like a totally outside of norms opinion, you go to Haaretz and you write right there. They were saying that it's just not possible to win a conflict. Like the total victory over Hezbollah is just like not in the cards. And even though they mobilize everyone, invade, they're just not going to wipe it out. And I think that also is just true. And also because they have to, they just can't wipe it out, right? Like people forget about Hezbollah is that, like, over the last few years, I have just like kind of on accident through being on Twitter and kind of these spheres and talking to people, and I have like on accident developed contacts with Lebanese Shia. There's a lot that fucking live around me. And like, if you're an able-bodied man from the ages of like 17 and 45, and you're a Shia in Lebanon, you're just in Hezbollah. Like, in some capacity. Maybe not like a fighter, but you are just in some capacity, like, you know what's up, you'll hold, like, it's a much, it's a much larger organization, you'll realize. Because when you look at Hezbollah, the only two ways to look at it are like their actual voter count, which is like in the polls, right? Which is too much, right? You couldn't say everyone who votes for this party is in this group. It would be obscene. But then they're paramilitary guys who draw a paycheck. But it's not just guys who draw a paycheck that are in Hezbollah. It's the whole, like, it's everyone. It's all the Shia men in Lebanon are, if not like in it, they are adjacent to it and supporting it and not just like verbally, like materially, and they should, right? It's their group. And like, before you get into like, IRGC guys who are training them up, like Hezbollah's a bigger organization I think anybody realizes. It's
yes. And also that's also why, once again, this is where the whole terrorism things comes from. Like, if you designate Hezbollah as a terrorist organization, you're not that, people imagine like fighters
Yes.
who are part of the paramilitary wing of Hezbollah. No, that means like normal, everyday people
It's a political party. Yeah.
who are like card carrying members of Hezbollah. In fact, I'm pretty sure there was an article that was released that said that like, and the title of it was like Hezbollah party members dead in strikes, and it was like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I forget the number.
Yeah.
But then someone was like, no, they say Hezbollah party members. What that means is like firemen and teachers and just everyday people.
It means non-fighter. Because they would say fighters if it was fighters.
Yeah, they would just say fighters, but they said Hezbollah party members, which just means normal people who you killed.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think that's also something important to mention, which is the absolute depravity, which is the American and Israel war effort.
Yes.
Just evil shit, dude. Like, for another thing that got exposed with the hits on Dimona, there was like a school there and like people lived there. That's human shields.
Yeah.
Israel uses human shields.
Yeah.
So that's one thing to keep in mind when they start bitching about civilians that died either in Arad or even in the Dimona strike, which is, I think they're keeping that little hush hush right now.
Yeah, they keep that number low. Yeah.
They might release the numbers. When they start talking about
they
civilian
said,
casualties,
like,
that's human shields.
They said they took 13,000 wounded and like 0 dead at first.
That's bullshit.
Sorry, 1,300. 1,300 wounded and like 0 dead. Maybe, but
there's no way in because at first there was like initial reports that like 6 were dead.
Yeah.
And then like no one's dead, so like you brought 6 people back to life because it was the hospitals were arriving with a mass casualty.
Well, that was also some mayor. I think it was Arad, or I think it wasn't. I think it was Arad. He didn't get the message about you're supposed to lie and not a confirmed death because he said we took 2 and then he said we took 4 more because he just didn't know. He didn't know. He wasn't like in on the shot. We're lying about
the paramedics in the hospitals declared a mass casualty situation.
Yeah.
That's supposed to mean there's people dead on arrival.
Yeah, I mean,
there's multiple people dead on arrival. When you get there, there's already people dead.
Yeah.
And so, like, you declare that we're dealing with dead people. There's no way in hell no one died.
Yeah.
I can look at the pictures. We have videos of the damage that was done. You're telling me no one died in that? Get out of my face. Fuck out of my face. That's stupid. No way in hell. But so that's just one thing to keep in mind, though, when they start bitching about like civilians injured or dead. That's human shields. They are put there on purpose so their nuclear facilities don't get hit. That's why. And if
also,
they do get hit, they can bitch and moan about the civilians that were hurt or killed.
And those announcements are by the Likud-run health ministry of Israel. Mm-hmm. It's the Likud. People forget it's the Likud-run health ministry. It's not. They're not legitimate. They're run by the Likud party.
Yeah. The most savage kike slaves there is. Wait, I'll take that back.
They're actually kikes. They're not kike slaves.
Yeah. The most lunatic kikes there are.
Yeah.
I take that back though. What's Ben Kavir's party's name? Like Jewish Power?
Supremacy. Or Jewish Power,
like Jewish Power. The Jewish Power Party. I'm sorry. Those guys are the most insane. Their literal part. The party name is Jewish Power.
Yeah.
And you have settlers yelling at the guy who is a member of the Knesset representing Jewish Power that he is a Nazi. That's how bad of a state of mind the Israeli settlers are in. But also, do you think you could go into a little bit of detail about the civilian casualties and the loss of life and the destruction in Iran? Do you think you could go a little bit into that, or maybe?
Yeah, I think it's very clear that especially the Larjani assassination, they knew he was in a neighborhood, and they hit like every building in this neighborhood that he could have been. They were probably 500 casualties, 500 people killed in that strike, like basically a saturation strike. Well, so you can use precision weapons for non-precise things, right? You precisely are hitting every fucking building in a neighborhood. Yeah, it's precision, but like you kill a lot of civilians. That's very clearly what happened
when they killed Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. When they killed him, they were saying that like we know Tehran better than we know Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Okay, then you should have known he was with his 14-month-old granddaughter.
Yeah.
That means you should not have done that. And also, he's not even a real, just, legitimate target. You're doing political assassinations while killing innocent people in the process. I can't describe how evil that is. That is disturbingly evil. So that's all something to keep in mind here, that Israel and America are doing literal political assassinations and killing hundreds of people in the process. While what's Iran doing? They're taking out Israel's nuclear capabilities. So
Yes.
that's what we're dealing with here. Who is the moral superiority? It's Iran, and it's 100 times over. So yeah, I can go a little bit more into the joke. Did you see that this post? There was a post that went viral on Twitter. What's that guy? Fugitive something? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Slave, yeah.
The fugitive guy. He was talking about how like Iran could strike London if they wanted to, so like that justifies the whole Iran war.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even describe how fucking stupid that is. You don't get to bomb someone because they could potentially bomb someone else. That's not how this works.
Yes.
Not how this works. Because and also London is safe, Rome is safe. All these European places they were talking about could be hit are safe. They want to hurt the Jews, not you. Stop. I mean, these people want constantly to put themselves in the shoes of the Jew. You don't have to do that. Have a good time. Tel Aviv is on fire.
Yeah.
Just have fun. I'm having well. First of all, I'm on the right side, and I'm basically right about. We're right about most things. So I'm having a lot of fun. Third world. That show title, Third Worldism Vindicated. I think that should be the show title. But I'm having a lot of fun. You can also have fun. You do not have to sit there with egg on your face.
Imagining ways that the Empire can still win or should win or crying that it doesn't win.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah, this gets to I think I was going to analyze, right? Because we made this moral point a lot, but just be a good person, support the right side on this, oppose the occupation government of the United States and Israel. But I want to point out that there's this odd talk of saying, oh, well, the Iranian drones cost $7,000 or $2,000, and the Israelis cost this, and the whatever cost this, and America's getting beat on cost and all these things and points, right? I want to point out for the last 3 weeks, there's been a lot of talk recently about, oh, well, we'll have to adjust and make a cheaper this, a cheaper that, or a cheaper boat, or a cheaper plane. The war that was fought for the last 3 weeks that Iran is now turned the corner on was the U.S. playing on like money no object mode, right? Like, I think it's going to be a long war. This first like month or maybe 2 months will be defined by America spending infinite money, like the longest range product, like the longest range missiles, the most refuelers, like the interceptors being blown, or like 20 interceptors for a missile in Tel Aviv. Like, they were getting beat in a mode of like money no object. The idea that when the U.S., if this becomes a post 60 days plus distance conflict, that we transition into some kind of phase where we are not just like, where we are like rationing and have developed new weapons, and we fight in a more like controlled, judicious way, that we're not going to be taking more losses, is actually insane. Like, the idea that you could downsize or ration and cut down this into something else and it be more effective is absurd. Like, listen. Should the troops in Kuwait have Stinger missiles to defend themselves against drones? Sure, yeah. You probably have Stinger. There's a lot of things that aren't being deployed well enough. Like, there are cases to be made that cheaper weapons that have not been deployed that could be deployed, but a Stinger is not good enough. Like, it's not better than a Patriot against a drone, right? Like, we are going to, as we shift, people are making this case in the analyst community that as we shift to like match the tool, like cheaper tools, so that missions more accurately will become more effective. Like, no, we front loaded all our best shit, and now we don't have that. So what's it going to be? Well, it's going to be less effective. Like America's effectiveness is going to drop off as this conflict continues. It's not going to get better.
Also, there's a reason. One thing I also want to mention. You're 100% correct, by the way. When you're talking about making cheaper shit, that just means that the quality of the shit you're fixing to make is going to go down because all the good shit has already been used.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about making it cheaper, that means it's going to be worse. That's kind of.
You could argue that if they were currently fighting in a way that they weren't firing shit to preserve it because it was too. You could argue, okay, well, firing. You know, if you fire 3 missiles, we'll fire 3 cheaper missiles. But they're currently firing as many as they're not rationing right now.
Right.
So the idea that you'll have less capable, cheaper stuff under the same amount of opportunities to engage, it's better. It's just not true, actually. Like, I don't know what to tell you people. It's just not going to happen. And also you're seeing things like they're clearly running out of cruise missiles or air launched cruise missiles because they're flying planes closer and closer to Tehran or not Tehran to Iranian airspace, and they're getting hit more. So yeah, like they're trying to use shorter range equipment, and they're getting hit with anti-aircraft stuff or near missed. I also think that also there was another thing that alleged F-35 shoot down or wounded. I am increasingly of the opinion that the F-35 made it back to friendly airspace and ejected, because if it landed safely, they would be showing it off, because it actually is really, really good. Like if in the Gulf War, some A-10s got hit by Saddam's ground fire, and it was a big thing. Oh, look at this! And the pilot brought it back in. It was very cool. Kind of became part of the A-10's legend that it could take this hit and still land. A damaged fighter plane that landed safely is like A1 propaganda, and they would be showing that off, like crazy, because everyone knows the thing got hit. Like you can't hide. It was announced. It was shown. We shot the footage. Everyone saw it get hit and keep flying. Everyone knows that happened. So you're not going to say, "Oh, well, if we don't see the landed plane, we're gonna forget." But so people, I don't think it's going to change things too much. In a meaningful way. I'd say if they're not showing it, it was shot down.
Yes, I agree. I think is that most of the military analysis that we have. You got any more?
There's dribs and drabs, but it'll come to
because there's other stuff I wanted to mention.
Yeah, shoot.
Yeah. So one thing I think the whole rhetoric from Trump about how this is winding down and this is going to be over. Obviously, it's bullshit. He's going to stop saying that, because after yesterday, Netanyahu made it very clear this is nowhere near from being over, and everything is escalating. So, I mean, I think you're just going to stop seeing that rhetoric from Trump. Everyone knows that this shit is escalating. Netanyahu said the strikes are going to significantly increase, stuff of that nature. So just yesterday was a big turning point, and you're going to start seeing people talk about how long is this going to last? It's going to last much longer. This is nowhere near from being over with. I was going to ask you, because this is something a lot of people have on their mind. Ground invasion, boots on the ground. What are we looking like in that department? I know they're shipping more and more Marines over there and whatnot. First question is, we have to make predictions of when it's going to happen.
No, well, it's more of a how.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, is where would they go?
So because
I've heard Karg Island.
Karg Island would be insane for a number of reasons. Mostly because it would be very difficult to hold. It's very close to the Iranian coast. It wouldn't give you a good position to invade Iran from. It's pretty heavily garrisoned too. It would be a fight to take that island, and also the risk of destroying the oil facilities there. The Americans have made clearly they don't want to destroy the oil industries on Karg Island. So, are they going to? It's be very hard to fight and take a place that you don't want to destroy and bomb and shit if that place is garrisoned. The other aspect, then there's the take the Straits of Hormuz, any one of these islands. Also, and I think that's being entertained right now because they're saying we're going to start airstriking in that region more heavily, and we're patrolling it with more planes or whatever. Possible, but I also think the area is too well garrisoned. There's too many people there, and it's not just that. It's that it's a bit there's too many civilians there. So the big island in the Strait of Hormuz, Qasem or whatever, it's got 100,000 people live there. Just in terms of Basij, which is the kind of political police, probably 1,000 members, just prophetic garrison. Forget that, just 1% of the population, effectively, of Iran, a little more actually, is in this group organization. There's gonna be 100. There's gonna be 1,000 political motivated regime true believers there at a baseline. So that's gonna create problems. These the most there's probably every invasion route has massive problems. The least problematic for making a landing is probably what's called Baluchistan, which is the easternmost region. And you could the thing is, the theory would be you land the Marines and then drop the A-second on them, and they can make a foothold. And you make assumptions the Baluchs, maybe they want independence. You get some kind of Baluchs to back you up, and you can split off an independent Baluchistan, or you move the Shah there and make like that little zone they have. Like, oh, this is like Shah land. That's possible, but I don't think it's likely because the problem is you have to get. I think it's much more difficult to get close to the carriers couldn't get within 300 kilometers of the coast. And yes, most of the maritime defense is around Hormuz, but a good Rabila is like they can that stuff's mobile, and there's probably some on that coast because where else would it be? Like I think it would be much more challenging to get the Marines there, and people realize it'd be much more challenging to land the ASAC there than people realize. Also, if you land all 5,000 Marines, only of which 1,200 are like ground fighting Marines, like riflemen, and the rest of them can do that job too, but they'll be like they have their airplanes and all that other stuff, all their important pogue shit to do to support the. How many are actually how many are you actually defending with? How much strength can the IRGC has a lot of manpower, right? Because I think it's so the move could be you want to move fast now before the Iranian army is mobilized to fuck you up. Absolutely makes sense. Problem with that is if it's this small of an invasion of like say 5,000 to 10,000 guys, the Iranians don't have to mobilize everybody. They could just send like the IRGC and like local National Guard and Basi. Like they don't need to people are thinking that they need to destroy the Americans like as soon as they land. If the Americans get a foothold and they just become an attritional war on this foothold for months and months and months, you're gonna start losing. You'll be losing. Say you kill 100 Iranians a day, you have a crazy attrition differential, right? You're killing 100 Iranian soldiers a day in this area, and you're losing like 5 Americans. So 120 ratio, crazy. You're not. That's like you can't kill your way through this. Like it's not. That's not. There's going to be more and more every day like pressing against you. You're going to probably lose great. You have to trade ground that kind of ratio. You get close. You're in closer range of all these other systems. Like these Shahed drones are scary, but they're a lot more scary when they're coming at you from one. They launch from 1 kilometer away and hit you when they're just like a mortar or a fucking rifle. Like the Shahed drone is a no. There's no minimum distance on that thing. So I really think that like there's things you could do with a foothold. You could possibly make a foothold. It would be hard to maintain. It would be hard to explode out of. The absolute number of troops is very low, and also that ground in Baluchistan that you could land is very mountainous, which means it's hard to take, but also hard to attack from. And if the Iranians want to defend it, it's also easier for them to defend. There's a lot of routes that are possible. I mean, in my opinion, I don't know how they would do it, but if they could get the army into Turkmenistan, in the northeast of Iran, that's the closest shot to taking Tehran and like just taking the enemy capital and declaring victory. Like if that's your goal, or doing that through Azerbaijan. Those are also crazy because you'd have to move. Like you can't teleport the military, but it could be done, right? So I think I just don't see a land invasion being I don't see the plan. I think the assumption, and maybe it's right. I mean, I give a 2 to 5% chance of this happening, but I could be wrong. Is that they believe much like I think Hegseth thinks this, much like the Iraq War, the land army of Iran is like going to fall apart on contact with American forces. The problem is if you think that's true, if you sincerely believe that like upon contact the Iranian army will just fall apart and you can just push all the way to Tehran, then you need to land a shitload more guys than 5 to 10,000. Because even if they fall apart on contact, 10,000 guys can't take Tehran. Like you will give the government of Iran, months to reorganize and get their shit together, and that's an important part. Like and mobilize their whole army, and like I think it's going to be very problematic if even in the absolute scenario of like you land, you get a foothold somewhere with a small force. That small force of 10,000 cannot push independently to Tehran. You need more of the guys just to defend your rear. You can't just like abandon your foothold. So it's just not like I think it would be a very bad move to land a small invasion force on any places, Karg Island, Hormuz, anywhere really. I see this idea of a small ground force team is, I think, silly and approaching stupid. That makes sense.
Well, there's going to be so many American troops slaughtered if there's a ground invasion. I mean, if you do a small invasion of it, like a small ground army of people, all of them are just going to end up dead. Like I don't like. If America tries a ground invasion, I just think it's going to be a huge L. Like
Yeah,
I don't.
that's I think the reason that the Baluchistan argument looks like tempting to these people because Baluchistan is very sparsely populated.
Mm,
So like in theory, there's not going to be that many defenders. They could kind of and also like it'd be very stretched out, kind of skirmishy fighting to hold this thing. It wouldn't be like a big. It would not be a big set piece battle. It'd be a series of like small skirmishes. Well, at what point the Americans kind of could bring a lot of their air power to bear on like disproportionately small like Iranian forces. Like I think Baluchistan is a strong case of like it would be very difficult to like wipe out the Americans just because of how. But if they do it if they go into the mainland of Iran, it's gonna be very difficult to hold, and they might get wiped out. The islands are going to be a slog unless the Iranians just don't want to. The other thing is the Iranians do have like 3 or 4 of these islands they can hold, like control the strait from. They could just, you know, give a few of them up, right? Just give up, don't give up an island or two, and then just the Americans are there. You just paste them with fucking Shahed drones until they leave. Like, I could see the Americans like taking an island with almost one of the small islands in the middle with like almost no opposition and just getting pasted by drones until they go home because I think that could be a very much a plan.
yeah, I agree. All right. That answers my question about the ground invasion stuff. We've been going for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
We got an extra I mean, if you want to fill in at 15. I guess one thing I want to say is I've been rereading a lot of theories of war, I guess, specifically what justifies a war. And obviously, being the Catholic boy that I am, I've gotten much back into just war theory. And I just want to say this war is on all accounts unjustified. There's 3 qualifications for, and I might write an article about this. I'm kind of already started on it. But there's 3 qualifications for just war. One is that it comes from a legitimate authority. One, that the cause has to be just. And 3, it has to be done with the right intentions. Number 1, the war doesn't even come from a legitimate authority. I mean, put aside like your government's occupied, it's dominated by Jewish lobbyists and Jewish blackmail to Gentiles, and they're all criminals. Put that aside. The biggest reason why the war was declared by an illegitimate authority is because it's not in bounds of the rule of law. The war is unconstitutional. It's very clear in the Constitution that Congress has the sole authority to declare war, and we are in a war that was not declared by Congress. It was done through the president. That is unconstitutional. It's outside the rule of law. Now, someone can go, well, who cares about law? That shouldn't matter, this and that and the other. First of all, the people who are going to say that are like the law and order kind of people. Like, we should enforce the law, we should punish criminals. Those are usually the people who are going to be saying because they support Trump. But put that aside, law is an instrumental good. It is something that is used to generate good things. So you should just, in general, respect the law. But also, the biggest reason is because the president takes an oath to uphold the Constitution. If you break an oath, you are essentially a liar. And it is evil to lie. So that's the number one thing that we're dealing with here when we're saying, this war was declared through an illegitimate authority. What that translates into is that the president lied in order to declare the war. He broke an oath he swore to uphold. Specifically, not just an oath to the American people. He had his hand on the Bible. He broke an oath with God. So that's evil. Obviously, the war is unjust.
Also, attacking an enemy during negotiations.
Yeah, that's like one thing that is like necessary for like a just war to be declared is all other steps need to be taken, and those failed to bring peace, and so then you go to war. These bastards started it and killed people while going through the phony negotiations. Yeah. I mean, people don't know. A lot of people don't know this. Steve Witkoff who was like he was like the leader of doing the negotiation with Iran. That guy stops on his way to and on his way back from Iran. He stops in Israel. He literally stops in Israel, gets like told what's the right things to say, goes to Iran, stops, tells them how it went, comes back to the United States. So the negotiations were phony. And then with like the right intentions, that's obvious bullshit. There is no real intent. Like the intention is to overthrow the government, which that is evil because one country does not have a right to tell another country how it operates. So all of the qualifications that would meet to have a just war, all of them fall flat when it comes to this war. So it's one of the most unjustified wars in contemporary times,
Yeah.
quite frankly.
And a lot of people who are doing the American imperialism bit have Vatican flags in their fucking handles. So
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
valid. All right. I kind of want to wrap. I think it was a good show.
That's good enough for me, man. That's good enough for me. All right. I'm Doomernat. This has been Lewis, and we will see you in Valhalla, brother.